Hikers hear their names called from the darkness, only to find no one is there. Strange lights flicker in the sky and then vanish without a trace. Deep in the wilderness, these chilling encounters are more than just campfire stories, they're real. What terrifying secrets are hidden in the world's most remote places? Chapter 1: The Phantom Voices of the Forest. The wilderness is often a place where nature's silence reigns supreme, a quiet that can either soothe the soul or unsettle the mind. Yet, for some who venture deep into the remote forests, this silence is occasionally broken by something inexplicable: phantom voices. These disembodied voices seem to emerge from the woods themselves, echoing cries for help, calling out names, or mimicking familiar sounds. The experiences of hearing these phantom voices are more than eerie stories. They are chilling encounters that have been documented by hikers, campers, and park visitors, raising questions about the unknown forces that might inhabit these wild places. The Phantom Voices of Joshua Tree National Park. Joshua Tree National Park in California, known for its unique desert landscape and rugged beauty, is also a place where strange occurrences have been reported over the years. In 2015, a hiker exploring the remote areas of the park had an experience that left him and park rangers baffled. The hiker, who was alone at the time, heard a voice calling for help. At first, it seemed like a distant cry, faint and almost lost in the vastness of the desert. However, as he moved closer, the voice became clearer and more desperate, calling for assistance as if someone was in distress. Concerned that someone might be injured or lost, the hiker decided to notify park rangers. Given the seriousness of a potential emergency, the rangers launched a search and rescue operation. Teams were dispatched, covering a significant area around where the voice was heard. They scoured the landscape for hours, using trained search dogs and calling out to see if anyone would respond. Yet, as the search continued, the voice that the hiker had heard suddenly stopped, and no evidence of a lost or distressed person was found. The absence of any physical evidence or signs of another human presence left the rangers perplexed. This incident was noted in Park Service logs, joining a series of other strange reports from the area. What makes this case particularly unsettling is that Joshua Tree National Park has a history of strange reports, including unexplained lights, shadowy figures, and other phenomena that have left visitors feeling uneasy. While some might argue that such voices could be attributed to auditory illusions, the stark and open desert landscape of Joshua Tree, where sound does not easily carry, only adds to the mystery. The Okefenokee Swamp, Voices in the Mist. The Okefenokee Swamp, spanning over 400,000 acres across Georgia and Florida, is another place where eerie, unexplained voices have been reported. The swamp, with its dense foliage, waterways, and thick layers of fog that roll in during the early morning and late evening, creates an atmosphere ripe for mystery. For years, local guides, visitors, and residents have shared stories of hearing voices in the mist, voices that seem to come from nowhere and carry a hauntingly human quality. One of the more well-known accounts involves a group of kayakers who were navigating the swamp's winding channels in the early 2000s. As they paddled through a particularly foggy section, they began to hear what sounded like a child's voice, crying softly for help. The voice seemed to drift with the fog, moving around them but never revealing its source. The group, initially thinking it was a lost child, searched the surrounding area but found nothing. When they returned to their guide and shared their experience, they were told that other visitors had reported similar encounters over the years. Another documented report came from a seasoned guide who had been leading tours in the swamp for decades. He recounted a story of a cold winter morning when, while guiding a small group, they all heard what sounded like a distant conversation. The voices were indistinct, but there was no mistaking their human-like tone. When the group moved closer to the source, the voices would shift direction or stop altogether. No one was ever found, and the experience left both the guide and his guests deeply unsettled. What makes these encounters particularly unnerving is the consistency of the reports. Multiple visitors, often unaware of previous stories, describe similar experiences, voices that come from the mist, often sounding like cries for help or distant conversations, but always elusive and impossible to track down. Some have speculated that the unique acoustics of the swamp, combined with its dense foliage and water, could create auditory illusions. However, the sheer number of reports suggests there may be something more to these stories. The psychological terror of the unknown. These documented encounters in places like Joshua Tree National Park and the Okefenokee Swamp tap into a deep instinctual fear of the unknown and the unseen. The experience of hearing a voice when one is alone or in a remote area triggers an immediate response, an urge to help, an instinct to flee, or a gripping sense of unease. The ambiguity of these situations, where a cry for help or a familiar sound cannot be traced to a source, creates a psychological terror that lingers long after the incident is over. Phantom voices, whether they are auditory illusions, natural phenomena, or something more supernatural, remain one of the most unsettling mysteries reported by those who venture into the wild. They challenge our understanding of reality and remind us that in the vast, untamed wilderness, there are still mysteries that defy explanation. Chapter 2: The Unseen Watchers. The sensation of being watched, of unseen eyes following your every move, is a fear as old as time. In the wilderness, where the vast, uncharted landscapes often blur the boundaries between reality and imagination, this feeling can be especially potent. For some hikers, hunters, and trekkers, this sense of being watched isn't just a fleeting anxiety, it's a deeply unsettling experience that lingers long after they've left the forest. Documented accounts of such encounters, from the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest to the untamed jungles of the Amazon, reveal the chilling nature of these unseen watchers, entities or phenomena that evoke a profound sense of dread. The Pacific Northwest: heavy footsteps in the woods. The Pacific Northwest, with its expansive coniferous forests and rugged terrain, is known for its beauty and, for some, its eeriness. Over the years, numerous hunters and hikers have reported feeling an unnerving presence in these remote areas, as if something unseen is observing them. One such account comes from an experienced outdoorsman in the Olympic National Park, who, in the early 2000s, encountered what he described as heavy footsteps following him during a solo trip. While on a multi-day hike through the dense forest, the man began to notice an unusual pattern. Whenever he stopped to rest or listen, he would hear faint, yet distinct footsteps in the underbrush behind him. At first, he assumed it was a deer or some other animal. However, as he continued, the footsteps seemed to mirror his own, pausing when he paused and moving when he moved. The sensation became more pronounced as dusk fell, and with it came an overwhelming feeling of dread. Unable to shake the feeling that he was being followed, he set up camp earlier than planned. Throughout the night, he reported hearing the same heavy footsteps pacing around his campsite, always just beyond the reach of his flashlight. In his report to park authorities, he described the footsteps as being too heavy for any known animal in the area. He never saw what was making the noise, but the experience left him deeply shaken, and he cut his trip short. This account, like many others in the Pacific Northwest, has fueled theories ranging from Bigfoot to more supernatural explanations. The Amazon rainforest: glowing eyes in the jungle. The Amazon rainforest, the world's largest and most biodiverse jungle, is also home to countless mysteries. While many accounts from the Amazon involve cryptids, strange lights, and other unexplained phenomena, one documented case stands out for its sheer eeriness. In the 1990s, a group of researchers conducting fieldwork in a remote part of the Amazon basin reported an unsettling experience that still haunts them to this day. The team, consisting of biologists and local guides, had set up camp in a dense part of the forest. One night, after a long day of research, they were sitting around their campfire when they began to notice glowing eyes in the darkness surrounding them. At first, they assumed it was a common jungle predator, perhaps a jaguar or some other nocturnal creature. However, as the hours passed, the glowing eyes seemed to multiply, and they realized they were surrounded on all sides. The eyes did not move like typical animal eyes. They hovered at varying heights, some low to the ground and others up in the trees. Whenever one of the researchers shined a flashlight in their direction, the eyes would blink out of existence, only to reappear moments later in a different spot. The unsettling part was that these eyes did not exhibit the typical eye shine associated with known jungle animals. They appeared more luminous, more deliberate. Feeling increasingly uneasy, the group decided to stay close to the fire and keep watch throughout the night. As dawn broke, the eyes slowly vanished into the jungle, and the tension lifted. When they searched the area the next morning, there were no signs of any animals or tracks that could explain what they had seen. The local guides, who were seasoned jungle experts, were at a loss, noting that they had never seen anything like it. This incident was recorded in the researchers' logs and remains one of the more unsettling unexplained encounters from the Amazon. The psychological impact of being watched. While the experiences from the Pacific Northwest and the Amazon provide compelling stories of feeling watched by something unseen, it's essential to consider the psychological impact of such encounters. Being in a remote, isolated environment heightens human senses and can make even the most rational minds more susceptible to feelings of paranoia. The dense canopy of a forest, the rustling of leaves, and the play of shadows can easily create the illusion of a presence where there is none. However, it is not just about psychological reactions. In many cases, those who report feeling watched or followed are seasoned outdoorsmen and women, hunters, researchers, and guides who are familiar with the natural sounds and behaviors of wildlife. When these individuals report experiences that go beyond the ordinary, it raises questions about what they might have encountered. Theories and explanations. Theories about the unseen watchers in wilderness areas vary widely. Some believe these experiences could be attributed to natural phenomena, such as unusual wildlife behavior, auditory illusions, or the effects of infrasound, low-frequency sound waves that can cause feelings of unease or even hallucinations. Others suggest that there could be undiscovered species or phenomena that science has yet to explain. In areas like the Pacific Northwest, the idea of Bigfoot or similar cryptids has long been a popular explanation. Witnesses often describe feeling as if they are being observed by something intelligent, capable of staying hidden yet close enough to keep a watchful eye. In contrast, the Amazon's glowing eyes are harder to classify, though some speculate that they could be the result of bioluminescent insects or unknown nocturnal animals. Regardless of the explanations, the consistent element in these encounters is the profound psychological impact they have on those who experience them. The terror of being watched, especially by something unseen, taps into a primal fear that transcends cultures and geography. It's a reminder that even in our modern age, there are still places on Earth where the unknown lingers, waiting to be glimpsed from the corner of our eye or heard in the soft crunch of leaves behind us. Chapter 3: The Time Slips and Missing Hours. In the vast and remote wilderness, time can feel fluid. The experience of being in nature often comes with a disconnection from the normal markers of time: no clocks, no streetlights, and no urban noise to regulate the passage of hours. However, some wilderness experiences go beyond mere disorientation. There are documented cases where hikers, campers, and explorers have reported inexplicable time slips or missing hours while in the wild. These stories, recounted by credible witnesses, reveal unsettling encounters that challenge our understanding of reality, suggesting that there may be unknown forces at work in these remote places. The missing time incident in Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta, a striking peak in Northern California, has long been a focal point for mysterious stories, including those involving missing time. One of the most compelling documented cases occurred in 2011, when a woman hiking with her friends reported losing several hours without any apparent reason. The group had set out early in the day to explore one of Mount Shasta's many trails. Around midday, they decided to take a break near a small, secluded clearing. After resting for a while, the woman wandered away from the group to explore the surrounding area. According to her friends, she vanished from sight for what they believed was only a few minutes. However, when she reappeared, she seemed disoriented and confused. When questioned, she revealed that she felt as though she had been gone for several hours and had no recollection of where she had been or what had happened during that time. The group's initial assumption was that she had simply gotten lost or confused. However, her watch showed a time several hours ahead of what they had expected. This discrepancy, combined with her unusual behavior and the unsettling feeling of missing time she described, left them deeply concerned. The woman later reported experiencing strange dreams and a persistent feeling of unease in the days following the incident. This case became part of a series of similar reports from Mount Shasta, a location well known among paranormal researchers and enthusiasts for strange phenomena. Devil's Den State Park, a time slip in Arkansas. Devil's Den State Park, located in the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas, is another location known for its mysterious occurrences, including time slips. In 2017, a pair of campers, both avid outdoorsmen, reported an encounter that left them baffled and fearful of returning to the park. According to their account, the two friends set up camp in a remote area of the park, planning to spend the night stargazing. Around 2 a.m., they noticed strange lights moving erratically in the sky above them. At first, they thought it might be a meteor shower or military aircraft, but the lights moved in patterns that didn't match any known aerial phenomena. Suddenly, both men felt an overwhelming sense of disorientation and drowsiness. The next thing they knew, it was morning. They woke up outside their tent, lying on the ground with no recollection of how they got there. Their watches and phones were several hours ahead, showing a time that didn't align with the position of the sun in the sky. Shaken by the experience, they quickly packed up and left the park. Later, they discovered that their digital devices had missing data for those several hours. This case was later investigated by a local UFO group, which found that other visitors had reported similar experiences in the park, with descriptions of missing time, disorientation, and strange lights in the sky. The mysterious phenomena in the Bennington Triangle. The Bennington Triangle, located in Vermont, is an area notorious for mysterious disappearances and strange occurrences. Between 1945 and 1950, several people went missing in the area under bizarre circumstances. While many of these disappearances remain unsolved, there is one account involving missing time that stands out. In 1949, a man named James Tedford, a World War II veteran, was on a bus returning home from a visit to St. Albans, Vermont. The bus traveled through the Bennington Triangle area, and according to several passengers and the bus driver, Tedford was asleep in his seat when they last checked on him. However, when the bus arrived at its destination, Tedford was nowhere to be found, even though his luggage and personal belongings were still on board. The strangest part. According to some passengers, they believed they had only taken their eyes off him for a few moments. While the incident of Tedford's disappearance does not directly involve a personal experience of missing time, it has been tied to the broader context of the Bennington Triangle's strange history. Many speculate that the area's unique geology or magnetic fields could be responsible for the anomalous experiences reported there, including feelings of disorientation, lost time, and missing persons. However, no scientific explanation has definitively accounted for these occurrences. The hypotheses: psychological versus physical explanations. The phenomenon of missing time is often attributed to psychological factors, especially in stressful or unfamiliar environments like dense forests or remote mountains. Exhaustion, dehydration, or even a state of hyper-awareness can lead to altered perceptions of time. For example, people might feel as though time is moving faster or slower than it actually is due to their heightened focus on survival or navigation. However, these explanations don't always satisfy the witnesses who have experienced these phenomena firsthand. The stories from Mount Shasta, Devil's Den State Park, and the Bennington Triangle are shared by people who are often familiar with the outdoors and not prone to panic or disorientation. Another line of inquiry involves physical explanations, such as magnetic anomalies or the influence of infrasound, low-frequency sounds, that could disorient or disturb a person's perception of time and space. Some researchers have suggested that certain locations, especially those with high levels of quartz or other specific geological features, could create electromagnetic disturbances affecting both human physiology and technology. There is also the suggestion that these time slips could be connected to more exotic theories, such as multiverse theories, wormholes, or unknown dimensions intersecting with our own reality. While these ideas are not supported by mainstream science, they have gained popularity among those interested in the paranormal or unexplained phenomena. Chapter 4: Encounters with the Unexplained Beasts. The wilderness is a place where the line between myth and reality often blurs. While most animals that roam the forests, mountains, and jungles are well known and documented, there are encounters that defy classification. Over the years, countless people have reported sightings of creatures that do not fit into any known category of wildlife, beasts that suggest the presence of something unexplained, lurking just beyond the fringes of human understanding. These encounters are often shared by credible witnesses, from seasoned outdoorsmen to park rangers, and they add a layer of mystery to the already enigmatic wilds. The Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film, Bluff Creek, California. One of the most famous and well-documented cryptid encounters in North American history is the sighting of Bigfoot at Bluff Creek, California, in 1967. This encounter was captured on film by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, two outdoorsmen who were exploring the remote forest region of Northern California in search of the elusive creature that had been rumored to exist for decades. On October 20, 1967, Patterson and Gimlin were riding on horseback along Bluff Creek when they reportedly came upon a large, bipedal, ape-like figure walking along the riverbank. Patterson quickly dismounted and managed to film the creature with his 16mm camera for about a minute. The resulting footage, now famously known as the Patterson-Gimlin film, shows what appears to be a hairy, upright creature striding away from the camera, briefly turning to look back before disappearing into the forest. The film has been analyzed extensively by experts from various fields, including primatology, zoology, and film. Some argue that it shows a genuine, unidentified creature, pointing to the muscle movements and natural gait as evidence that it could not be a man in a suit. Others suggest it is an elaborate hoax, citing the simplicity of the costume and discrepancies in the footage. Despite the controversy, the Patterson-Gimlin film remains one of the most compelling pieces of evidence in the ongoing debate about Bigfoot's existence. Over the years, many people have come forward with similar sightings in the Pacific Northwest and other heavily forested areas across the United States and Canada. These reports often describe a tall, muscular, hair-covered creature with a distinctly human-like face and long arms, leaving behind large, deep footprints that give the creature its nickname, Bigfoot. The Beast of Bray Road, Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Another documented encounter with a creature that defies conventional classification is the story of the Beast of Bray Road, a cryptid reported in and around Elkhorn, Wisconsin, during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The creature, often described as a large, wolf-like or bear-like entity that can walk on two legs, was first reported by local residents who encountered it while driving on the rural roads near Bray Road, a quiet stretch of farmland. One of the earliest and most famous accounts comes from a woman named Lori Indrizzi, who was driving on Bray Road one evening in 1989 when she saw a large, furry creature hunched over on the side of the road. She described it as having a wolf-like face with pointed ears and glowing eyes, but its body was thick and muscular, more like a bear's. Startled, she stopped her car, and the creature reportedly stood up on its hind legs and began walking toward her vehicle. Panicked, she sped away, but the encounter left her shaken. Other reports soon followed, with witnesses describing similar experiences, seeing a creature that seemed too large to be a wolf but not quite a bear, with the ability to move bipedally. In several cases, the creature was reported to have aggressively approached vehicles, only to disappear back into the woods or fields when headlights were shown on it. The sightings were documented in local newspapers and investigated by Linda Godfrey, a reporter who went on to write several books on the subject. She coined the term Beast of Bray Road and brought national attention to the phenomenon. To this day, the creature's identity remains a mystery, with theories ranging from an undiscovered species of wolf or bear to more supernatural explanations involving werewolves or other mythological beings. The Jersey Devil, Pine Barrens, New Jersey. The Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey is the home of one of America's oldest and most enduring cryptid legends, the Jersey Devil. Reports of this creature date back to the 18th century, with descriptions ranging from a kangaroo-like body with bat wings and a horse's head to a more dragon-like appearance with horns and cloven hooves. The creature is said to emit a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream that has haunted the locals for generations. While the Jersey Devil is often dismissed as folklore, there have been numerous documented sightings over the centuries. One of the most famous flurries of sightings occurred in January 1909, when hundreds of residents across the state of New Jersey and parts of Pennsylvania reported seeing a strange creature flying through the air, leaving behind hoof prints in the snow. The local newspapers covered these events extensively, leading to a wave of fear and panic. More recently, in the 1970s, a New Jersey police officer reported seeing a strange, winged creature crossing a highway in front of his patrol car late at night. Other residents have reported hearing strange sounds and finding unexplained tracks in the sandy soil of the Pine Barrens, further fueling the legend of the Jersey Devil. Despite extensive efforts to investigate these claims, no physical evidence has ever been found to conclusively prove the existence of the Jersey Devil. However, the persistence of these stories, combined with the credibility of some witnesses, has kept the legend alive and well in New Jersey folklore. Moth Man, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The Moth Man is another mysterious creature that has been documented by multiple witnesses, primarily in the area around Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Sightings of the Moth Man began in the 1960s and typically describe a tall humanoid figure with large glowing red eyes and massive wings. The first major sighting occurred in November 1966, when two young couples driving near an abandoned World War II munitions site, known as the TNT area, saw a large creature standing by the roadside. As they drove away, it reportedly spread its wings and took flight, following their car at high speeds. Over the following year, dozens of sightings were reported in and around Point Pleasant. Witnesses described feelings of intense fear and a sense that the creature was watching them. These encounters culminated in the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge in December 1967, which resulted in the deaths of 46 people. Some locals came to believe that the Mothman was a harbinger of doom, appearing before disasters or tragedies. Journalist John Keel chronicled these events in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, which helped popularize the story and cement it in American folklore. Despite various attempts to explain the sightings as misidentified birds or mass hysteria, the legend of the Mothman endures, with continued reports of sightings around the world. Encounters with unexplained beasts in the wilderness remain some of the most compelling and mysterious phenomena reported by those who venture into remote areas. As long as people continue to explore the wild places of the world, stories of cryptids will persist, reminders of the mysteries that still lurk just beyond the edges of our understanding. Chapter 5: The Lights That Shouldn't Be There. Across the vast stretches of wilderness around the world, there have been countless reports of strange, unexplained lights appearing in the sky or hovering just above the ground. These lights, often referred to as orbs, ghost lights, or simply mysterious lights, have been documented for centuries. Seen by hikers, campers, park rangers, and even entire communities, these lights defy easy explanation. Some are attributed to natural phenomena, while others remain a complete mystery, leaving witnesses both baffled and frightened. The Brown Mountain Lights, North Carolina, USA. One of the most famous cases of unexplained lights in the wilderness is the phenomenon of the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina. Located in the Pisgah National Forest, the Brown Mountain area has been the subject of curiosity and speculation for well over a century. The lights are described as glowing orbs that appear on the ridges and valleys of Brown Mountain, often moving erratically or hovering for minutes before disappearing. Reports of the Brown Mountain Lights date back to at least the early 1900s, but local Cherokee and Catawba legends suggest that the lights may have been seen even earlier. The first recorded documentation of these lights appeared in the Morganton Herald in 1913, when a fisherman claimed to have seen mysterious lights just above the horizon near Brown Mountain. Since then, the lights have been witnessed by countless individuals, including scientists, journalists, and tourists, who visit the area specifically to catch a glimpse of the elusive phenomenon. Multiple investigations have been conducted to determine the cause of the Brown Mountain Lights. In the early 20th century, the United States Geological Survey, USGS, suggested that the lights could be a result of the misidentification of train headlights or car headlights reflecting off low clouds. However, this explanation fails to account for sightings reported before the advent of automobiles and trains. Other theories have included swamp gas, ball lightning, and atmospheric conditions that create optical illusions. Despite these efforts, no definitive explanation has ever been agreed upon, and the Brown Mountain Lights continue to be a mystery. The Marfa Lights, Texas, USA. Similar to the Brown Mountain Lights, the Marfa Lights of Texas have been a source of fascination and bewilderment for decades. Located near the small town of Marfa in the Chihuahuan Desert, the Marfa Lights are colorful, glowing orbs that appear on the horizon, often reported by both locals and visitors. The lights have been described as floating, splitting into multiple orbs, or moving at high speeds, disappearing and reappearing without any discernible pattern. The first documented sighting of the Marfa Lights dates back to 1883, when a cowboy named Robert Reed Ellison reported seeing them while driving cattle through the area. Initially, he thought they were Apache campfires, but upon investigation, he found no evidence of any human activity. Over the years, the lights have become a popular attraction, drawing tourists, researchers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Various scientific studies have attempted to explain the Marfa Lights. In the 1970s, scientists from Sul Ross State University conducted field studies and proposed that the lights might be caused by atmospheric phenomena like temperature inversions, which could create mirages. More recent studies have suggested that car headlights on nearby highways could be responsible for some sightings. However, the randomness, color changes, and erratic behavior of the lights challenge these explanations. As a result, the Marfa Lights remain an enigmatic phenomenon that continues to draw curiosity and speculation. The Hlin Lights, Norway. The Hlin Lights in central Norway are another well-documented case of unexplained lights in a remote area. First reported in the early 1930s, the lights have been a subject of continuous study since the 1980s due to their frequent appearances. Described as glowing balls of light that range in color from white to yellow to red, the Hlin Lights appear above the valley, hover, move at varying speeds, and sometimes even seem to pulsate. The lights became widely known in the early 1980s when sightings peaked, with hundreds of reports coming in from local residents and visitors. These incidents prompted a series of scientific investigations, and the Hlin Automatic Measurement Station, Hlin AMS, was set up in 1984 to monitor the lights continuously. The data collected by the station has recorded various anomalies, including electromagnetic fluctuations and unexplained radar echoes, further deepening the mystery. Researchers have proposed several theories to explain the Hlin Lights, ranging from piezoelectric effects, electrical discharges caused by stress on quartz crystals in the mountains, to plasma created by ionized dust in the atmosphere. However, none of these theories fully explain the variety of behaviors and characteristics observed in the lights. The Hlin Lights continue to be one of the most intriguing cases of unexplained phenomena, drawing international interest from both the scientific community and UFO enthusiasts. The Min Min Lights, Australia. The Australian outback is home to its own version of mysterious lights, known as the Min Min Lights. These lights have been reported for centuries, with Aboriginal legends describing their appearance long before European settlers arrived. The lights are typically seen in the Channel Country region of Queensland and the Northern Territory, often appearing as glowing orbs that float above the ground and follow travelers for long distances. One of the earliest documented sightings by European settlers occurred in 1918, when a stockman claimed to have seen a strange hovering light that followed him as he rode his horse across the flat terrain. Over the years, there have been numerous similar reports from motorists, ranchers, and campers who describe being followed by the lights, which sometimes appear to react to their presence. Scientists have attempted to explain the Min Min Lights using natural phenomena such as bioluminescence, optical illusions caused by temperature inversions, and reflections of distant light sources. However, these theories have not been able to account for all sightings, particularly those that occur in areas far removed from artificial light sources. The Min Min lights remain a fascinating example of unexplained natural phenomena in the vast Australian wilderness. The Paulding Light, Michigan, USA. The Paulding Light, also known as the Dog Meadow Light, is a mysterious phenomenon that has been reported in a remote area near Watersmeet, Michigan, since the 1960s. The light, which appears at the end of a rural road in the forest, is described as a bright white light that sometimes changes color and size, moving back and forth along the horizon. The legend surrounding the Paulding Light suggests various explanations, from the ghost of a railroad brakeman who died while trying to stop an oncoming train, to more scientific explanations like car headlights from a nearby highway. In 2010, a group of students from Michigan Tech conducted an experiment using a telescope and spectrometer, concluding that the light is most likely the result of car headlights on a distant highway. However, many locals and visitors who have seen the light firsthand remain unconvinced by this explanation, noting the erratic behavior and changes in appearance that do not align with headlights. The phenomenon of unexplained lights in the wilderness is one that spans continents and cultures, with documented cases from the United States to Norway to Australia. While many of these lights have been investigated scientifically, offering explanations rooted in natural phenomena, none of these theories fully accounts for all the details reported by credible witnesses. The mystery of these lights remains unsolved, capturing the imagination of those who seek to understand the unknown. Chapter 6: Vanished Without a Trace. The wilderness is vast, untamed, and often unforgiving. While many people venture into nature seeking adventure, peace, or a challenge, there are some who never return. The cases of individuals who vanish without a trace in remote areas are among the most disturbing and mysterious phenomena associated with the wild. These disappearances leave behind no clues, no signs of struggle, and often no trace of the person at all. The lack of evidence in such cases has given rise to various theories, ranging from natural accidents and animal attacks to more sinister possibilities, such as foul play or even paranormal involvement. In this chapter, we explore some of the most baffling documented cases of people who vanished in the wilderness, never to be seen again. The disappearance of Paula Jean Weldon, Vermont, USA. One of the most famous and perplexing cases of a person disappearing in the wilderness is that of Paula Jean Weldon, an 18-year-old college student who vanished while hiking on Vermont's Long Trail in 1946. Paula was a sophomore at Bennington College, and on December 1st, she decided to take a break from her studies and go for a hike. She left her dormitory in the early afternoon, dressed in a red coat, jeans, and sneakers, hardly the attire for a long cold hike in the mountains, but Paula was an experienced outdoorswoman. Paula was last seen around 4 p.m. by an elderly couple who gave her directions on the trail. They watched as she continued walking northward along the trail. This was the last confirmed sighting of Paula Weldon. When she failed to return that evening, her roommates reported her missing, sparking a massive search operation involving hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and even the FBI. Despite the extensive search, no trace of Paula was ever found. No footprints, no items of clothing, no remains. Her disappearance remains one of Vermont's greatest mysteries. The case led to the creation of the Vermont State Police, due to the criticism of the uncoordinated search efforts. Over the years, various theories have been proposed, including the possibility that Paula became lost and succumbed to the elements, was attacked by a wild animal, or fell victim to foul play. However, without any evidence, these theories remain speculative, and Paula's fate remains unknown. The case of James Tedford, the Bennington Triangle, Vermont, USA. The disappearance of James E. Tedford is another enigmatic case associated with Vermont's so-called Bennington Triangle, a region known for its mysterious vanishings. Tedford was a World War II veteran who, in 1949, was living in the Bennington Soldiers' Home. On December 1st, exactly 3 years after Paula Weldon's disappearance, Tedford boarded a bus in St. Albans, Vermont, to return to the Soldiers' Home. Tedford was seen boarding the bus, and multiple witnesses, including the bus driver, confirmed that Tedford was still on the bus when it made its final stop before reaching Bennington. However, when the bus arrived at its destination, Tedford was nowhere to be found. His luggage and personal belongings were still on the bus, but there was no sign of him. Tedford had seemingly vanished into thin air while the bus was in motion. The mystery of James Tedford's disappearance has never been solved. Some have speculated that he may have fallen off the bus or disembarked at an earlier stop, but these theories do not account for the fact that none of the other passengers or the driver saw him leave. The case has become one of the most famous in the lore of the Bennington Triangle, a place now synonymous with unexplained disappearances. The vanishing of Everett Roose, Utah, USA. Everett Roose was a young artist, poet, and explorer who disappeared in the deserts of Utah in 1934. Roose, who was only 20 years old at the time, had spent several years traveling through the American Southwest, documenting his journeys through letters, diaries, and artwork. He was captivated by the beauty and solitude of the desert, and frequently ventured into remote areas alone. In November 1934, Roose set out from the town of Escalante, Utah, heading into the rugged wilderness of the Escalante Canyons. He was last seen near Davis Gulch, where he told two shepherds that he planned to continue exploring the area. When he failed to return, a search party was organized, but they found no trace of Roose except for his 2 burros, which were discovered wandering the desert. Despite extensive searches over the years, including efforts by both amateur sleuths and professional investigators, no remains or belongings of Roose have ever been found. His disappearance has become legendary, symbolizing the allure and danger of the American wilderness. Various theories have been proposed, including that Roose fell to his death in one of the many canyons, was murdered by cattle rustlers or outlaws, or intentionally disappeared to start a new life. However, without any evidence, these theories remain speculative. In 2008, skeletal remains were found in a remote area of the Utah desert, and initial reports suggested they might belong to Roose. However, DNA testing later disproved this theory, and the identity of the remains remains unknown. Everett Roose's fate continues to be one of the most enduring mysteries of the American West. The disappearance of Tom and Eileen Lonergan, the Great Barrier Reef, Australia. The case of Tom and Eileen Lonergan, a married couple who disappeared while scuba diving in Australia's Great Barrier Reef, is another unsettling story of people vanishing without a trace. In January 1998, the Lonergans, both experienced divers, were part of a group excursion to the outer Great Barrier Reef. The group was diving off the coast of Queensland, but when the boat returned to shore, the Lonergans were not on board. It wasn't until 2 days later that the diving company realized that Tom and Eileen had been left behind. A massive search operation was launched, involving helicopters, boats, and divers, but no trace of the couple was found. Their disappearance raised serious questions about the safety and oversight of such excursions. A dive slate, which is a small writing board used by divers to communicate underwater, was later found washed ashore. It bore a chilling message: "To anyone who can help us, we have been abandoned on Agincourt Reef by MV Outer Edge, January 25, 1998. Please help us before we die. Help." Despite this discovery, the bodies of Tom and Eileen Lonergan were never recovered, and it is presumed they perished at sea, either due to drowning, dehydration, or being attacked by sharks. The incident led to significant changes in the Australian diving industry, including stricter regulations and safety protocols to prevent such tragedies from happening again. However, the exact circumstances of the Lonergans' final moments remain unknown, adding to the haunting nature of their disappearance. The Missing 411 Cases, Various Locations, USA. The Missing 411 Inches series, documented by researcher and author David Paulides, has brought attention to hundreds of cases of people who have vanished under mysterious circumstances in national parks and wilderness areas across the United States. These cases, spanning decades and involving people of all ages, share several eerie similarities. The individuals often disappear near bodies of water, are found in areas previously searched, or vanish without leaving any trace. Paulides, a former law enforcement officer, has meticulously cataloged these disappearances, noting the patterns and anomalies associated with them. While some of the cases could be explained by natural accidents, animal attacks, or foul play, others defy logic and remain unsolved. The Missing 411 Inches series has sparked considerable debate and interest, with some suggesting that these disappearances could be linked to unexplained phenomena or unknown dangers lurking in the wild. The cases of people who vanish without a trace in the wilderness are among the most haunting mysteries in the world. Whether due to natural hazards, human error, or something more sinister, these disappearances leave behind grieving families, unanswered questions, and a lingering sense of dread. The wilderness, for all its beauty and majesty, is a place where the rules of civilization do not always apply, and where the line between safety and danger can be perilously thin. As long as people continue to venture into these remote areas, the risk of vanishing without a trace will remain, a reminder of the unforgiving nature of the wild. Chapter 7: Strange Sounds in the Wilderness. For those who venture deep into the wilderness, the vastness of nature can be both beautiful and eerie. The forests, mountains, and deserts can amplify the senses, making one acutely aware of every rustle, chirp, and howl. But sometimes these natural sounds are disrupted by something much stranger, sounds that defy explanation and leave witnesses shaken. From mysterious hums to ghostly wails, these strange sounds have been documented across the globe, raising questions about what could be causing them. This chapter explores several documented cases of unexplained sounds heard in the wilderness, reported by credible witnesses such as hikers, campers, researchers, and even law enforcement. The Taos Hum, Taos, New Mexico, USA. One of the most well-documented cases of strange, unexplained sounds comes from the small town of Taos in New Mexico, a region surrounded by rugged mountains and deserts. Known as the Taos Hum, this low-frequency humming noise has been reported by residents and visitors since the early 1990s. The sound is described as a faint, persistent hum, somewhat akin to the sound of a distant diesel engine running. However, what makes the Taos Hum particularly baffling is that not everyone can hear it. In fact, it is estimated that only about 2% of the local population can perceive the sound. Numerous investigations have been conducted to uncover the source of the Taos Hum. Studies by scientists, acousticians, and engineers have been carried out to measure the hum and identify its origins. Yet, none of these investigations have been able to pinpoint a specific source. Theories have ranged from industrial activity, high-frequency electromagnetic waves, and even subterranean geological processes, but none fully explain the phenomenon. The Taos Hum remains a mystery, and while it is not confined strictly to the wilderness, it is a reminder that even in the relatively modern and well-populated world, there are still sounds that elude explanation. The Mystery Booms of Forest Grove, Oregon, USA. In 2016, residents of Forest Grove, a small town located in Oregon and surrounded by dense forests, began reporting a series of unexplained booms echoing through the night. These sounds were described as loud, explosive noises that could be heard miles away, shaking windows and rattling nerves. The booms were intermittent, occurring at seemingly random times without any clear pattern. Local law enforcement and city officials investigated the phenomenon, but they were unable to determine the cause. Theories ranged from sonic booms caused by aircraft to underground utility work, but these were quickly ruled out. Seismographs in the area did not detect any seismic activity that could account for the sounds, and no industrial or military operations were taking place nearby. The mystery deepened when some residents reported hearing a high-pitched whistling sound preceding the booms, adding another layer of confusion to the case. Despite extensive media coverage and public interest, the source of the Forest Grove booms was never discovered. The sounds stopped as suddenly as they had begun, leaving the residents with more questions than answers. The mystery booms of Forest Grove are now considered one of the unexplained phenomena that occasionally occur in wilderness areas and small towns, where the quiet of nature is unexpectedly broken by something unidentifiable. The Sierra Camp, Sierra Sounds, Sierra Nevada Mountains, USA. The Sierra Nevada Mountains in California are known for their breathtaking landscapes and remote, untouched wilderness. However, they are also known for something much stranger, the Sierra Sounds. Recorded in the early 1970s by a group of hunters at a remote hunting camp deep in the mountains, These sounds are among the most famous and controversial audio recordings of alleged Bigfoot activity. The hunters, led by Ron Moorhead and Al Berry, reported hearing strange guttural vocalizations coming from the woods surrounding their camp. The sounds ranged from deep growls and howls to high-pitched screams and what appeared to be a form of chattering or language. Over several nights, the men managed to capture these sounds on tape, now known as the Sierra Sounds. What makes the Sierra Sounds particularly intriguing is that they have been analyzed by audio experts, linguists, and even cryptozoologists. Some linguists who have studied the recordings believe the sounds exhibit characteristics of a language, with complex patterns and intonations that suggest communication. Others have argued that the sounds are simply misidentified animal noises or a hoax. Despite decades of analysis and debate, no definitive explanation has been provided for the Sierra Sounds. The recordings remain some of the most compelling audio evidence in the field of cryptozoology and continue to intrigue those interested in the mysteries of the wilderness. The trumpets of the sky worldwide. In recent years, there have been numerous reports from around the world of strange, trumpet-like sounds coming from the sky. These sounds, often described as metallic, grinding, or like a distant horn, have been reported in wilderness areas as well as urban centers. Witnesses from places as diverse as Canada, Ukraine, the United States, and Australia have recorded these sounds, often sharing them on social media, where they have sparked intense speculation and debate. While many of these sounds have been attributed to natural phenomena, such as shifting ice, atmospheric pressure changes, or even industrial activity, some of the recordings defy easy explanation. In wilderness areas, far from human civilization, these sounds become even more mysterious. Some researchers suggest that the sounds could be caused by seismic activity or geomagnetic storms, but no conclusive evidence has been found to support these claims. The trumpets of the sky continue to be a global phenomenon that sparks both awe and fear, particularly for those who hear them in remote and isolated locations. The moaning of the sea, Colares, Brazil. The island of Colares, off the coast of Brazil, is best known for a series of bizarre UFO sightings and encounters in the 1970s, often referred to as the Colares Flap. However, along with these sightings, local fishermen and villagers reported hearing strange, moaning sounds coming from the sea at night. The sound was described as a low, deep hum, similar to the sound of a foghorn but more sustained and eerie. This moaning phenomenon coincided with a period when local residents reported seeing bright lights over the water and experiencing physical symptoms, such as burns and weakness, after being exposed to the lights. Brazilian authorities launched an investigation into the events, known as Operation Saucer, but the official explanation remained inconclusive. While the moaning of the sea could be explained by natural underwater sounds, such as those produced by marine animals or seismic activity, its association with the documented UFO sightings has led some to speculate about a more enigmatic cause. The lack of concrete evidence has left this phenomenon unexplained, but it remains a unique example of how strange sounds can sometimes be part of a broader, more complex mystery. The wilderness is a place where the natural and the unknown often intersect, giving rise to experiences that challenge our understanding of reality. While some of these sounds can likely be explained by natural phenomena, others defy easy categorization, leaving open the possibility of mysteries yet to be solved. For those who venture into the wild, these sounds serve as a reminder that there are still aspects of the natural world that remain beyond the reach of human knowledge, echoing through the vast and untamed landscapes like voices from the unknown. Thank you for listening. Have you experienced anything mysterious in the wild? Let us know.